present, Anwar McQueen. And I've known Anwar when he was a player, and he was a very good player. Played at St. Albans School in Washington, D.C., had a very good career there. And then he went on to play out at the University of California, and had a good career out there. Played with some outstanding, on some outstanding teams at Cal, with Jason Kidd, Sharif Rahim, and then and Tony Gonzalez, and some really, really good players out there. But what intrigued me the most, and the reason why I wanted him to come and speak to us tonight, is what he's doing now. He's using his platform in a mighty, mighty way. So without, further ado, please mute your mics. Please, ask questions. He is here giving up his time to us, sharing his story, sharing, his experiences and what he's doing in the future and the platform. So without further ado, Mr. Anwar McQueen.
Again, thanks again, Coach Sutton. I want this to be really informal, but very informative. And so before, I'll get, as he mentioned in, I guess, my bio, I'm from DC, played in high school, played in college. I coached at the Division I level. I had 3 coaching stints. I was a high school head coach first. Then I went on to the University of San Francisco as the grad assistant, the video guy, got the bump to be, the third, and moved up to the second assistant. I joined my college coach at my last coaching job, Todd Bozeman at Morgan State. I was an associate head coach for 1 year. And then I got out of the business. And when I got out of the business, I had this emotional connection to the game. I was in that crossroads of, all right, what am I going to do next? Or what do I want to do that's not coaching? And I was pretty fortunate that an opportunity was just right in front of me. And it was centered around technology. And to give a little context, and Coach Singletary can attest to this, I've always been kind of one of those closet techie guys, meaning back in my coaching days, I was probably part of the first staff that had BlackBerries. So let's put that in perspective. I know you guys probably laugh about that, but just think about it. I mean, we were a starving, D1 program, strapped for budget. I had to present to the athletic staff why BlackBerries mattered. I literally was like, look, we all invest in BlackBerries. Recruits hit us up on emails. We can, give offered letters. They signed off on the BlackBerries. But no, I always had a love for technology. And when I left Todd's staff, I was just at a crossroads. I was in Baltimore from DC, and I wanted to take some time off to see what I wanted to do for myself. And I joined this company at the time. It was called Sports Tech, and that's actually in the early days. That's when I met folks like Coach Tabali. I think you were at maybe Missouri, if I remember correctly. Yep. Yeah, so I probably met a lot of you guys on the other side of it. And what was interesting for me from a transition was a lot of you guys knew me as a former player, a former coach, but I was like, I'm trying to sell you some stuff. So, man, I'm getting on campus, and we having all these recruiting stories. I'm like, yeah, but what about this product? So, I had to figure out the way to, really, just celebrate all those memories as coaching and playing, really get down to business. And so the quick story of how that technology really launched my career and why I'm here today was I literally got handed a BlackBerry and a market. I'm no different than all you guys would probably courageous, but recruiting stories. You work for head coaches like, all right, go get me these players. Here's a BlackBerry and, come back and report to me. No different in the sales world. But I had a big target on my back. It was like, go open up the NBA market for us. I'm like, I didn't play in the league. What are you talking about? So first thing I did was just try to tap into my network, whether that was former players. And I had some advantages because a lot of my college teammates were NBA superstars and players. So I had that unique access to at least start to, figure out that industry. But where this comes full circle for me, as I started to sell this product, Sports Code, to NBA teams, I had a light bulb moment that I had tremendous success. I had to learn the product, become the subject matter expert. But as I started to form a relationship at that level, I saw firsthand that there just weren't minorities that were trying to pursue this video coordinator role. And that really was just perplexing to me. because I saw the power of, if you engaged in video, you know how to break down film, you connect that to coaching, like that just seemed to be a pretty straight forward proposition. For whatever reason, minorities just weren't in those video coordinators position. Took more of a personal note to, you know, just try to figure it out. But as I started to gain relationships with coaching staffs and NBA, so my network expanded, dealing with video coordinators, head coaches, general managers, team presidents, etc. I became a trusted resource so that when these jobs started to open up, you know, kind of behind the scenes or ahead of time, I would be that resource to get the call. So like, hey, Anwar, you know, we may have coaching change here, what have you. Anybody on your radar can do this video stuff. And again, I just had no one, at least from a minority standpoint, to tap into. So I made it a point that through my platform of Sports Code, whether it was a minority or not, anyone interested trying to get in that video, you know, space, I made sure they had access to Sports Code, you know, free of charge. And I was going to big brother them in a way where, you know, if you're committed, I'm committed to help you grow and develop. So over about a 3 to 5 year period of that type of, you know, mentoring, if you will, about 85 people, you know, I touched in a small way, they landed jobs in the league. So some started off in video, and then within that 5 year period, they became player development, scouting, head coaches, and now general managers. So when I decided to leave the company in 2016, I was so like, you know, still focused on like this video world. There was a missing connection with, you know, people of color, women, and I wanted to make it, you know, dedicate, you know, literally my life to help figure that out. So I launched a nonprofit organization where it was focused on, just like I was doing when I was working for the company, exposing this technology to minorities and youth if they were willing to, you know, want to learn and, you know, and get into college or the league for that matter. And my turning point in all this was that it's pretty straightforward dealing with coaches, right? You guys know the game, you played, you know, lingo is pretty fluid. But I was like, what about the other folks that don't play or don't have the ability to play, but, you know, want to get into the league? And so by developing a curriculum, that's when I took technology to a whole nother level. So just onboarding coaches or non-coaches, I really had this light bulb moment of just understanding what coding was about or computer programming. So that became just a beast of itself. All of a sudden, Google's knocking on the door. Young man, here's $100,000 to kick off this initiative. Apple coming behind them. So my world just blew up about 3 years ago to get some funding, you know, to really spread this organization. And I'm most proud today, at least. We've served over 5,000 young people, all walks of life. I want to really stress that. But we've had some global reach. You know, we do programming in South Africa and London now across all sports. Now, as this gets to all of us now, because of the COVID-19 stay in place, we had to kind of suspend our in-person mentoring program. So now, in a more productive way, we offer some of our programming online. So it's been a beautiful thing to be in this environment and even do more because we're online. So sorry for the you know, the long intro or background, but you know, hopefully that gives you guys some context of my journey, my process, and why I'm here today.
First and foremost, that introduction was necessary, and we don't apologize here. We accept and we need that information. We're gonna open it up now to some questions. You know, anybody got anyone has a question? Just unmute yourself, and then just go ahead and ask Anwar a question.
Hey, Coach, Justin Brandt over here. I wanted to ask you, because mentoring is something that I do. I've been a teacher and a coach now for the past 10 years, and I've coached at the high school level. So, you know, mentoring is a huge deal. I was just wondering, what are like your pillars for mentoring? What do you think are the things that have, you know, either come up the most with people reaching out to you, or what do you feel like are the things that your upcoming people really need?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for that question. It's really no, like, you know, go-to answer for that. It's been a process, if you will, but some of the as you mentioned, the pillars are, when people, reach out, I pay attention to some of the finer details. Are they emailing me? Are they spelling stuff correctly? I just try to go like with some professional standard first, right? And then you try to check little signs of persistence. I'm human. I have bandwidth stuff. So if someone really going to continue to chase you a little bit, and then when you have these type of connections, whether it's Zoom or back before this COVID-19, a lot of times because I was local, I had the opportunity to meet with people in person. Like your kind of I guess process. You feel people out, but I pretty much got a good process, if you will, to kind of sense if someone's committed, and then I just make it very clear to whoever that here's my promise, right? I never promise anyone I can create a job for someone, right? And I think sometimes you have to be honest with that expectation. And I say, look, if you put the effort in and, we can work through this together, I really believe in you. What I can promise is I can connect you as an extension of my network to an opportunity. And I love to set things up that way, because then it's now that person matched with that connection, and he or she should win that opportunity on their own. I don't try to then call the other person like, you got to take Coach Singletary. I just think that, I try to champion having everything on a merit base. And most important in the mentor stuff, I think sometimes we can, try to present ourselves as Superman. You have to be honest with your mentees. You're human, you make mistakes. It's just by living that right example too. So I try all of that, and so far it's been kind of a winning formula for me.
Really appreciate your time and answer.
Next question.
Coach. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, man.
No, you great. I talk to him every day, so you good.
Yeah, I would say, man, what do you know? No, Eric don't get to answer no questions. Anyone else for sure.
All right, but Coach McQueen, I just want to ask you. You talk about wanting to help minorities and help people in general. Where does that stem from? Where does that come from? That desire to help people, because not everybody's like that. Not everybody's looking to do that, especially in a space where there's a lot of competition and everybody's competing for certain roles.
Yeah, just from my upbringing, I grew up in the hood, if you will. My world was shook up going to St. Albans. That was a reverse of fortunes. I went from rag to riches, if you will. So I was like, holy crap, But honestly, it came back to basketball. Like, I was an exceptional player, but just my access through sport, hard work and grit, and to win, those were some life examples that, I championed, right? And then as I moved from Clifton Terrace to St. Albans, my mentoring network expanded, right? It went from just all Black mentors growing up in the club scene to going to St. Albans, having white administrators and white coaches. End of the day, it was pretty clear to me that, I felt I had integrity, work ethic, and that whether you're white or Black, I was able to connect to people that believed in Anwar and really, ushered me into their world and meaningful conversations. And really my pivot in St. Albans it wasn't athletic school. I was an exceptional athlete, but my teachers and counselors held me account that like, hey man, yeah, basketball works out great, but all your other classmates are going to Ivy League and stuff like that. I was just competitive. And so I wanted to be as good on the basketball court as I was in the classroom. So I was fortunate through some upbringing and some circumstances to be connected to all walks of life. And because I was successful in that, I truly believe in that. So it's a natural extension for me to want to help anybody.
Wonderful. Thank you, Coach.
Next question, Eric Singletary, Sidwell Friends.
No, Q, I wanted to congratulate you, man. We talk all the time, and, obviously to have my high school rival, but also my high school backcourt partner at AAU basketball, man, I've witnessed all the things you've done as a player. And then, like, gentleman just asked you where to come from. Like you said, you got it organically and how you lived. And as a person who's taken your class, who's done that, who's, as a head coach now for the last 12, 13 years, I could just speak on like how, I've broken down many film in the past, but certainly when you get to a head coach level, like you get people to do that for you. But man, I can tell you taking your class really highlighted to me, not only like the nuance and the expertise behind it, but just the need, for the youth that you're servicing and the youth that you can continue to serve through our support and whatever we can do. But, you know, it was an eye-opening experience for me to take the class and kind of, you know, see what you were doing firsthand. I just wanted to kind of congratulate you on that.
Yeah, thanks so much, Eric. You know, your friendship means the world to me. And again, yet another example. Coach Sutton reached out. I literally went to Eric first. I said, hey, Coach Sutton, that's been, you know, over some years I've connected with him. What's up? My man, 100, you know, and here I am. So, you know, that's hopefully that served as an example. You're only as good as your, you know, your network and your reputation too, right? Had I burnt some bridges in this coaching circles, you know, getting into some of those petty recruiting rewards or being a dishonest broker when I was selling product to you guys, you know, probably would feel uncomfortable being here, you know. So I champion that as well, you know, your reputation, proceed yourself, and you should expect, you know, opportunities. If you've done right by people, you know, things tend to work out.
Next question, Chris Sony.
Hey, Anwar. I got a question is, you talked about your mentoring had gone through to multiple sports, not just basketball. Could you kind of talk about what like the analytics are and others, or what similarities you see in some of the analytics and other sports and some of your success stories, sort of quote unquote, in terms of people who have gone on to other sports and positions in those sports?
Yeah, no problem. So thanks for the question again. Let me set this backdrop because it's a big buzz in today's game, and it can be perceived as really threatening, but that big buzz is the word analytics. You know, I know you guys coach and you're competitive around recruiting, you know, player development, etc. Insert this analytics, you know, type of notion, and for some it's scary, right? It's like, look, now you having machines or people that know how to put numbers together in spreadsheets, taking my job and my opportunities, etc. Let me set the table to like maybe calm some of that concern down. And if you can take it down to a baseline level, I want you guys to think of analytics no different than coaching, right? So if someone asks you what coaching is, there's really no one answer to it, right? You know, you kind of know what it is because it's based on your experiences. Some people can think coaching is teaching. Some can think it's mentoring, but it's somewhere, you know, in between all that or a combination of it, right? So if you think of analytics that way, hopefully that's, you know, something to calm yourselves. The next part to analytics, to me, is I've accepted it through my experience of being successful in selling technology, the value proposition. So just to put it in a basketball world, I literally see the analytics movement as no different if you're a coach at the high school, college, professional level. You're trying to have a competitive advantage against your opponents, right? So if you're a coach and in the player development sense, if it's about getting your guys 1,000 shots a day, you're going to invest the money and time in like a shooting machine. So whatever resource you're going to have to give them the, you know, the accessibility to work on their games. Insert analytics, you know, and I want to be very clear how I'm prefacing this. You insert analytics, it's just that premise, right? It's just another tool in the toolbox that can help you develop your program, have a different understanding of game trends, etc. And as much you invest into it, you know, I would say you have to accept and celebrate that, like, that can only help you potentially win. And so it's an interpretation of how you want to use it. The last point to that, and I'll answer that question, is what's so exciting for me is that people that want to look into analytics, I think it's this scary proposition. I got to somehow pause my coaching career, enroll in a master's program after hours, suspend coaching just to learn this. It's right in front of you. You can take some small steps in the job you're doing, coaching and trying to develop player development stuff, and really just start to orientate that around numbers. And I'll speak to that really quickly. It can be a small example of taking a spreadsheet, right? And let's say I'll break down some numbers for you. Let's say you get a box score, and I'll use me and Eric. So box score says both Anwar and Eric were 5 for 10 from the field. Like, that's non-disputable. That's 50%, right? And we can't argue that. But if you look at that 5 for 10 for field goal percentage, and you know that we both were 5 for 10, but you see another stat where Eric is at 65% from a effective field goal percentage and I'm still at 50, then if you're into numbers or oriented around numbers, just the fact you would know what that formula is, that can be very insightful, that just looking at those numbers. Eric somehow in that 5 for 10 had one more made three-pointer than I had. So if you start to think about stuff like that, I just think that that small, simple example can start having you think about your other processes and help make some of the decision makings to make, decisions. As people have come through my program that want to learn video and want to expand on the analytics world, I've had over like 30 students, for example, in the last 2 years have come through. They've gotten into the NBA in the video coordinator role. They've gotten an MBA as, analytics interns. Some have gone to work in Major League Soccer, the NHL. It's because my methodology is the same. I'm just teaching principles. And so if you understand those principles, it's no different than you coaching at Sidwell. Why couldn't you coach at, Ryder? It's the same thing. So that's how I've approached it. And that's some examples of, how I see analytics in the world you guys live in every day.
Next question, G.J. Kissel, Good Counsel High School.
Hey, Anwar, thanks for being on. If you could just give us a walkthrough. So someone comes to you and on day one, and just give us a hypothetical walkthrough, of some experiences they'll go through at the beginning, in the middle, and then as they've kind of, progressed through the program. What does that look like, if you could, with someone who takes it seriously and approaches it the right way from your perspective?
Sure. So because of the current circumstances, meaning we, at least in California for the most part, we're still in this kind of stay in place. We just can't, we still have to enforce social distancing. That really shut down my, mentoring program. That was all about people coming in to my space and after school environment. And it was designed for a 1 day, 2 hour program that spanned over 12 weeks. So that obviously had to be local to really get all the benefits of that. But because we've had to pivot to be online, we've truncated that. And so we offer a 1 week, what we call a boot camp. Coach Singletary can speak to some from his experience, but how it's outlined is, anyone that has some coaching experience or doesn't, we try to stay high level, but really in a very practical way. We have this kind of, script, if you will. We literally start with how do you acquire video? And in your world, that can mean so many things. Like you have a camera hooked up to the computer, or you're getting video from Synergy. So we try to check all those boxes in day one. Once you've got that video acquired, we ask those coaching questions. What are you trying to break down? And so that's kind of a process that supports the video you're trying to break down. So that can be video of a game, video of a project. The next step is that we start this is day 3. We start talking in some of these analytic terms of what quantitative and qualitative analysis is. So we don't go, really, too big in the sky with that. We try to keep baselines levels. And then that third day, it's the fourth day, it's kind of like putting together some of those building blocks. And so now you can start to think as a coach, if that's your background, of, how do you put all this together? And we give you some parameters to maybe follow some professional guidelines. And then on that last day, we require you to have a 3-minute presentation. And we're sticklers to that because for professional standards, you have to have brevity and when you're trying to present what you're trying to do. But we celebrate that last day. Well, we'll bring a career professional in, so somebody from the NBA or WNBA to serve as that, eyes and ears to your professional presentation. And, then that whole week, even though it's all online, you get a sense just based on people's commitment, their body of work, and it's like anything else. That's a new contact, a new network expansion for us. And if you're serious, we have resources in place that we can connect you with to further your interest. Did I answer your question, Coach?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Coach.
No, thank you.
Next question, Randolph Childers, Wake Forest University.
Anwar, 2 things, man. One, congratulations. The first thing is I'm messing with Sutton about Sutton. We talked about that earlier today, talking about his relationships and damaging and things that happen. We were just talking about that. But my question to you is, how did you balance your willing and wanting to assist and help others, being in this business, particularly the collegiate level, and the dependency on finances and everyone in their life in general? And it's just a general question about balancing your will and want to help people the way you did in your journey, and then the finances behind it, meaning your own livelihood. Sometimes in some of those decisions, I'm sure it wasn't always profitable for you, but you just did the right thing. Like, how did you, where'd that balance come from? You know, in doing that. And the last thing is, on your effective field goal, Eric could never shoot. So I know you used the wrong example on that with Eric.
Coach, that's absolutely hilarious. So to be a little reflective, and you know, I'll leave it here. I don't have the film, but we do have. There was a game back Cal at Wake Forest. Coach Childress, Tim Duncan, unbelievable home win streak. The California Golden Bears came in, and you know, we were victorious. So sorry about that, Coach.
Hey, the picture is the only live game picture. Well, there's two that I have in my house. That is one of them. And you're right, y'all won.
But no, that, for me, you know, this is really full circle. You were someone I looked up to coming from the DMV area, you know, and just to literally like like we had never crossed paths to that point, but I knew who Randolph Childress was, and you know, just your example of like getting out of DC, your situation on the Wake Forest, like idea like that, you know, I don't know, I wanted to do that, you know, look at folks like yourself, Kenny Blakeney, the Grant Hills, people that came before me, like that was inspiring, you know, so thank you for having that example. But as I got down this path, it's like coaching, you know, I'm gonna put it back on you guys. Like, I didn't necessarily choose to do this. It just became, you know, like I was invested in technology and wanting to learn and absorb it. So when I started to help others, it really felt like, because it was really helpful in making it work for others, it didn't feel like work. So I wasn't burdened to say like, oh man, I got to spend this extra time with so-and-so. But because of, you know, my professional standards, I demanded that other people be as committed. So like that kind of mitigated anybody wasting time. And I just happened to be in situations at the Division I level with my salary and stuff, you know, I didn't really have to starve, you know, in this little side journey. And Brian can tell you, this is Brian Tabali, like sports code was so expensive. So I was eating pretty good with some of this commission. So so thank you guys for all that too. So that's how I was able to finance some of this too. So.
And well, I got a quick question. Why, in your opinion, do you think that the video coordination avenue to get into this coaching field has not been utilized by minorities?
Yeah, so again, like a lot of this for me is hindsight and a little reflective, but I think it's usually people's circumstances. A lot of the times those video jobs at the professional, even college level, they don't pay anything. You know, it's really the ultimate grind. And so a lot of times for minorities, it's just your circumstance. You can't take that opportunity, you know, without a place to stay or any type of stipend. And so I just think that was always, at least in the past, you know, a big obstacle for getting into it. And I think that a lot of times, you know, from aspirational stuff, if you don't see other people doing it, you know, it's almost like that's almost like considered not cool. And so maybe that's an example why you wouldn't pursue it. But that said, for those that have pursued it and have gone through it, I just think it makes you just a better coach, right? You really get to be a tactician of understanding, you know, patterns and, you know, really understanding coaching philosophies and why people are running the Kansas secondary, why you're running box sets, and, you know, to be able to see that and break that down. Like, I've just seen a natural connection of like, it's just like all you guys sign up to go to a coach's clinic. Some coach that you're looking up to gives you a couple of nuggets and you go back and implement it. Video has that same type of, you know, help the next person or get you more connected to the game from my experience.
Right. Thanks for that answer. Next question, Malcolm Anderson. Go ahead, Malcolm.
Sorry about that. I forgot to unmute myself. Anwar, thank you for being here. I'm just curious to know if your sports tech software is able to integrate with other things like other analytics software or other video software. Like Brian Cordoc's on here, and he's one of the first people that told me about, he is the first person that told me about KenPom, and I'm curious to know if you can, or if you plan on in the future being able to coordinate with KenPom to help college coaches or other videos like software like KeyMotion and other companies like that. Can you integrate with them? And if so, if you cannot, do you think you can in the future? And if so, what would that look like?
Yeah, so again, I'm not Superman here. I don't even know what KenPom is for one, but I know what KeyMotion is, and some of the other players like Synergy is another platform. You got on the recruiting sense like Crossover and Huddle now. So Sports Code was actually, in some ways, really ahead of the game because most of you guys are at these Big 5 or Big 12 schools as an example. Football was the big program on campus, so they used a different technology called Exos technology. The Integrate Sports Code, that was built on a timeline, and to give you some context, because it was built on a timeline, it was built actually to aggregate third-party data. So 10 years ago, building on a timeline, inserting Synergy into our livelihoods now. So that's a small example of how you can take Synergy data and video, import it into Sports Code. Same thing with KeyMotion. That's more of, you taking their camera scenario and connecting through IP capture to have it being recorded and through KeyMotion, but in the Sports Code, so you can do some of your customized tagging. So I would say, outside of me not knowing what KenPom is, probably in the 90% range. At least Sports Code is a platform that is compatible, or you can use with other systems, if you will.
Thank you. KenPom is like analytics, so it'll tell you about defensive ratio or defensive efficiency and offensive efficiency, and it'll break it down in certain ways. And I'm pretty sure it's only for colleges.
Sure.
I'm sure NBA teams have their own thing. They probably have their own organization. And I'm just curious to know if you can make the film. If there's any way you can integrate the numbers and I know you do things with the film and the numbers, and I'm just curious to know if you can do that with certain softwares.
So thank you for that context with you said KenPom again?
KenPom, P-O-M.
KenPom. Okay, yeah. Yep. Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. So yeah, that's actually a good example where if I'm understanding that correctly, if we're talking about that's a type of company that presents, the analytics on paper, or just stats. So I'll give you like a little technology insight. So I would look at a company like that, and any stats they produce, that's just a data point, right? That's just a little nugget saying that like this stat is that. Now, from a programming standpoint, that's a small example how you can import that data in the Sports Code, and you can create a video asset to represent that stat. So I would say, without even knowing anything further, that's yet another example where that could be integrated with Sports Code, just snapping your finger. And to give you a quick story, when I was in the NBA, not in the NBA working, but selling to the NBA teams, you guys may have heard of the company now, Second Spectrum. There was a company before Second Spectrum, and it was called Stats, and they were based out of Chicago. So they were the first in the industry to have these cameras installed in all the NBA arenas. And all these cameras it was like facial recognition. And so a little backstory with that technology, it was old Israeli missile defense technology. So imagine like that technology was built to track people down and, for the military reasons. That technology got, slowed down in the military sense, and they saw a business opportunity to put it into sports. I thought I was really cool and fascinated by that. But where that became a business opportunity for us at sports tech was Stats entered the market, and they were selling like this, camera system per team. They were charging anywhere from $200,000 a year to implement their system, but it was giving you all type of crazy information, and mainly because it was designed to plot X, Y, and Z coordinates. To oversimplify that, that's your, going forward, backwards, up, and down. So you were able to get, type of information like one algorithm that came out of it was a key stat called rebound chances, right? So think about what a rebound chance is. That algorithm was programmed that anytime, I'm gonna use Eric again, if me and Eric were going for a rebound, if Eric got that rebound, that would log it as a rebound for him and a rebound chance. But because I was in 2 or 3 feet proximity, it was customized that that would be a rebound chance for me. So me selling that, knowing how that worked, this how I would approach professional teams as to why they would want to buy that and combine it with sports code. So I gave an example with the Warriors. This one, Draymond was, I think he was a second round pick. And this was right before his first, signing of the free agents. I think he had a rookie year, 3-year rookie deal. So Draymond was in that one of those interesting positions that based on the free agency market, he was, let's say, I think averaging around 8 rebounds a game, but it was like a $5 to $8 million difference if he got his rebound averages up. Like if he went from 8 to 10, that was just a conversation starter of like $5 to $8 million where he could, kind of command some salaries. So the Warriors brought me in to kind of, like how can we get this across to Draymond that he needs to rebound more? So of course you're going to tell him to go rebound more. And if it's not happening, you got to have other resources to point out, why that's not happening. So we were able to take a set of games of Draymond and show all of his rebound chances. And so what that pointed out to Draymond was that, yes, he saw all the rebounds he got, but the fact that it was able to log all the rebounds that he was near, it pointed out several things. Was he out of position? Did he not give effort? Or was it just, just not a securable rebound? So he was able to take that information, study that, and he improved his rebound, percentages or per game averages, and he was comfortable in that $5 to $8 million conversation with no problem. So hopefully that answered your question by example, but that was like 5 years ago, and technology has even advanced more since that.
Next question, JT, North Carolina Wesleyan.
Anwar, thanks for everything tonight. My question, I want to go back. You talked about the difficulty in maybe having some minority candidates available for video positions, et cetera, and the difficulty in that in terms of low salaries or possibly, living arrangements, whatever. I wondered if you have seen any programs where they've done, whether it's at the pro level or at the college level, where they've done a really good job of, whether it's through internships, whether it's entry-level positions, but they have created a path that where you've seen something like, this is really good, this works, and this gets guys into the pipeline that puts them on a path for success.
Yes, and so not to make this too competitive, but let's put that back in your coaching worlds. I mean, I think there's some programs that we all aspire to, just maybe how they recruit, and they have the reputation that they're going to get the top athletes, but it's really based on getting the top athletes, runs in the tournaments, and how many pros they come out of that. So no different in that video world. And when I first started in the NCAA ranks, Duke of our first flagship programs, and so because they were users of sports tech and or sports code technology, and they literally won I think 2 national championships in 3 years, they became our marketing arm. We're like, look, this is a key part of Duke's success, and so it became like a domino effect. But because Duke was successful and one of the early pioneers, they developed, so it was Duke, I want to say Michigan State to be 2 examples. They just had this reputation as a program where managers came in, they could really connect some of their managers through that hard work and sweat to NBA video opportunities. So that became even another recruiting arm. And because those young people were so focused on mainly on the video and not coaching, they were able to develop, some really cool analytics platforms on behalf of those programs. So those 2 programs stick out to me at the collegiate level that were probably the first to establish some of those reputations that from a managerial standpoint, you come to this program, we can connect you professionally. I'm gonna pause there for a second because I want to share my screen with you guys just to show you a list of, some of our program graduates. Coach, I think I may be disabled, so not a big deal. Okay. I just want to show you the. Yeah, I had this list together just so you guys can put name to paper of people, like I said, I've been connected with in the past, and you would see from this list, they're literally NBA general managers, head coaches, and You know, they really point to their ascension in the profession around their kind of commitment to video. Now, all of them weren't video coordinators per se, but they had to touch it at some point, and they really believed that really, you know, just helped them advance in their careers. And so this opportunity to share that with you guys, I just want to show, like, it's not some obscure people. These are people you probably see on TV every day. They have a background in some of this, so. I see Coach Turner. Is that Steve Turner?
Yeah, and while we let anybody in here sometimes, you know, like late, or you know, we just let we equal opportunity. We try to help all, you know, everybody, you know.
Did he share the
Turner,
screen?
my man, once again, man, Gonzaga in the house, man.
Did he share the screen? Did you share your screen?
Let me see if I can share it. No, it's still it's disabled in the settings from the host, so I can't.
So Sutton, you gotta let him in, man. Just hack his computer, man.
Yeah. Come on, Randolph. What I need to do?
Go to his name and in the participant and give him right.
Make him the host, or you can make
a
him
co-host. Make him a host or co-host.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, so let's go here. Yep. So you'll say I'm the host now. Let's see if.
Thank you.
All right. Perfect. All right. So you guys can see my screen now.
Yes.
Yeah. So here's my you know, list of cats, if you will, that just, you know.
Anwar, before you go further, in this tribe right here, we call this your living trophies. Okay.
Yeah, living trophies. Yes, I apologize, Coach.
Yes.
These are the living trophies, and this list is pretty up to date, if you will, as close as we can. But this is an extension of our network from the nonprofit side. These are people that came through before all this, you know, various positions in the league. But I'll just scroll slowly. You know, I would assume some of these names are you guys even know, if touched in some small ways, maybe even coached. But you can see it's a combination of just former players, people that you probably know did the grind through the G League, probably coached at your levels, whether you're D3, D through high school, etc. But these are the humans that in some way got connected with, you know, through this kind of video mentoring. They got on and they literally have reached back to, you know, help usher the next generation behind them.
Impressive.
Yeah. So someone like David Fisdale, you know, he's had 2 recent stops with some NBA teams, but he had a long stint. He's with the Warriors. Then he went from the Warriors to the Hawks and then the Heat. Had some championship success. But David's one of those examples where any opportunity in the video room, I'm probably one of his first calls. Like, hey, man, we got a spot. Like, who you got up? And so David, just as a small example, has probably been responsible for hiring about 8 people behind him. And when I say hiring, just really, you know, getting them to the front of the line at the interview process and having them win on those opportunities. And once they're in, you know, he's obviously going to support them and support our network. You see Sharif, and I want to explain Sharif. That was my college teammate, but most people don't know this. Sharif had a circumstance where he had to end his career, and it wasn't because his skills declined. He had some physical stuff going on with his knee. So he was in a situation with the Kings. They had just signed him to like $100 million deal. And literally, like, in that season, he was like, look, medically, I can't go. And so the type of person he is, you know, he had a choice through insurance. He could have got that whole contract and kept it moving. But he wanted to invest in his future. He still, I want to be clear here, he got his $80 million, but he started to coach. So he didn't start coaching and helped them out with the salary. He's like, nah, y'all can still pay me. I'll just come to work every day. So when he made that transition into coaching, and you know, I like to speak to him because it was a vulnerability stuff with him. He had just played and people kissing up to him. He was on the staff where, you know, he had to do some stuff, and, you know, he wasn't really comfortable with computers and a whole nine. All the scary stuff you guys probably started with at some point. But he's probably one of the most proud examples where he invested the time, slowed himself down, invested the time to kind of learn some of the basics. That able made him to be a contributor as an assistant coach, and his career was, I'm not saying his career was launched because of that, but I was able to help him, go from that to be assistant general manager for the G League team, and the rest is history from his career. But because of that experience, that's someone in my network can relate to, someone really putting in the effort to learn the game, learn the process, and can be reliable. So he's yet another example where, all right, you're looking for someone to hire, here you go. Now, Jay Kidd, I'll explain. Jay ain't never touched the computer, so I want to tell you why he's on the list. So Jay gets the Nets job, and he's like, what the hell is sports coach? So we had to laugh about that. I was like, look, it's something you need to keep, and you need to hire the right staff to support that. So that was another example where we were able to usher some former teammates in to be a part of his staff. They did a wonderful job. They leave with him to go from New Jersey to Milwaukee. More opportunities for other people to join him. But Jason, as a head coach, the irony now is that he has to touch sports code because he's assistant with the Lakers. And so, because of that, connection I had with him, and, he had some success with hiring some video people. We have that level of trust to really have him understand at the level he's at, what do you need to do? So that's another part of our mentoring for one of those earlier questions. It's really it's no prescription. It's just a process, right? So we're touching people at all levels throughout this. But most proud of whatever levels you touch them in, from where they're starting, where they're coming from, everyone's landed solid on their feet.
All right, we'll take another question here. Sean Colors.
Hey Anwar, thanks for the time. This is awesome. I coach at a Division III school, City College, and I was just curious. I know your experience is at the NBA and the high college level, but for a program that has limited staff and limited resources potentially, from your experiences, what are some things that you would suggest that we can take from the analytics, from the video, and incorporate at this level while still maintaining a high standard, but not having as much staff and resources, et cetera?
Yeah, and in kind of a peculiar way, I would say you probably you may think you're at a disadvantage. I just think because you're resourced, like physical staff, right? I think technology can bridge that gap. So I don't want to assume anything from your budget. But a lot of D3 programs probably have a league-wide deal with Synergy or Crossover, where that's your video type of exchange service. Am I correct with that?
Yes.
Yeah. So in that case, look, you can't. And I used to always sell against Crossover and Synergy, and I don't sell anymore. So one of the things I used to kill those guys with, I would talk to D3 coaches, like I said, college and NBA. They literally would say, like, all right, Anwar, why would we buy Sports Code and not Synergy? And I would literally have this, kind of nugget. I would say, look, how can you win today's game tomorrow, right? And so that was me setting up in a way that if you're going to use resources like Synergy and Crossover, you're waiting for that game that you played the night before to be broken down tomorrow. I was like, if you use common sense, that's not a good formula, right? How are you going to tell your players the next day what the hell happened when it mattered, right? So people would laugh about that, but that put them on pause. That, look, you know what? I was successful in really communicating that, but I really believed in that. But more importantly, would it have people to focus on back into that budget consideration? Now it becomes a straightforward proposition. What do you value, right? So if you value something, I'm saying you're going to find a budget to invest in those resources. And so no different than a player, right? If you think a player that's outside of your recruiting range, but you know that player can make a difference in your program, I think that's one of those exercises. You find a way to stretch that budget to maybe take a West Coast recruiting trip to get that done outside of your normal comfort zone. So the video or technology investment is the same principle, that same muscle as far as I'm concerned. But if you have to use stuff like Synergy, it's just being, just know it inside and out, right? You got to wait for the game the next day, but make that a DNA of your program. Know the ins and outs of it, and know how you can effectively use it with getting your players engaged, etc. So I would start again, like, whatever your budget is, what you value. And if you can't afford stuff and you still value stuff, just be at the best at what you have. And I think that can close the human resource gap, leveraging technology.
Next question. Daryl Bruce, Assistant Athletic Director at Bishop Ireton High School.
And you touched on a little something when you was talking about Sharif, and we got a lot of coaches, some short tenure, some long tenure, but share with them your motivation and just kind of what drove you and what was behind your split, because you obviously stepped out on faith when you said, I'm going to stop coaching and I'm going to do this. So share with the group here just some things that went on in your head, because some people, you were doing pretty good as an assistant coach. So some people would be like, hey, why would you leave that and the salary to do something else? So just kind of share with them your motivation behind, because you're telling us the end product, but I want them to know your mindset behind stepping out on faith and going into this other arena, and to let them know there are other opportunities for us outside of just coaching.
All right, look. So there's a funny story to that actually. So just like you guys, I had invested a lot of time in the coaching, and just like you have to assess those players, you have your moments of like, man, do I want to come back into this rat race, chasing these players? They don't appreciate your time, what you're putting into them, all that was, part of my process or my deliberation. But what really was a challenge for me was, putting it back in your world. You guys have mentors, right? And I hope you do, like within your coaching profession. Like if I was back in DC, Coach Turner, with his legacy of this program, that would be a resource. Like, Coach, should I get into coaching? Should I go to this coaching clinic, et cetera? So for me, when I was even at that crossroads of like, do I want to pursue other things? I reached out to my mentors. And let's say I had 10 of those mentors. 9 of those 10 told me I was making a mistake getting out of coaching. So just imagine like you being presented with that data, right? Like 90% of people telling you, you are a damn fool to be considered anything else. And they were telling me stuff, Anwar, you're a coach, man. You're going to be the next head coach. Stick with it, man. I know it's a grind and all that stuff. I just had this I literally had to process this. These are people I know, and they're telling me not to do something, but I felt so strongly that, man, it was worth trying it. And so this is how I finally came to, pulling the trigger. I literally put it down on paper. I said, okay, if I get out of coaching, I had to accept that it was just temporary, right? So I just said, I stopped going down this path of like me leaving coaching at this time meant that I could never get back in. So I said, look, but this is the moment. I don't know what's going to happen. It just feels like I need to pursue this. So I went against my trusted mentors, 90% saying, hell no, to go try this. And so, just out of survival, you better figure it out, right? So that was one of my motivations to, try something like this. And like I said, I had a little, affinity with, technology. But more importantly, when I was a coach, I was using this technology. So I had this inner confidence that if I'm going to step out of this to pursue this, like coaching, it was something I believed in. A lot of you guys were at the high school level, college level. Your job is easy when you're recruiting. You can speak highly of your institution, the experience you can deliver those student athletes. So Squirrel, a lot of that was just at the crossroads for me, and that helped me make that decision. But it was scary as hell, and it was unpopular. So I would not recommend that. Listen to your friends. This is one that worked out. Like, listen to the numbers. If 90% telling you people not to do it, listen to them. Don't do the shit I did. So.
Next question, Daryl LeBerry.
Anwar, we appreciate you coming on, man. First of all, I would like to talk to you kind of about getting into some type of film work. I'm out of the business right now. It's coaching. So there might be an avenue. I've been trying to figure out what to do. And when you've been doing something your entire adult life, trying to figure out a different avenue or a different way to approach it has been difficult for me. So that might be something that still keeps me involved in the game, but it's something different. But I want to go back to the Golden State Warriors brought you in to assess a way to help Draymond Green rebound. So I'm assuming they have a full video staff. Why were you able to do something that they weren't able to do, and have multiple teams brought you in for different, I don't know how to, different projects similar to that?
Yeah. So again, I'm gonna keep bringing most of my answers back to your world. Coaching success or recruiting success, and I think we all can agree to this. It's about relationships, right? So if people know you, they know your body of work. You for the most part, you should have a head start with people. But again, at that time, the video world was still evolving, and they had a specific, I guess expertise need or some questions asked that, I'm saying in a respectful way. The video guys just weren't equipped to even go there. And then I was also like the sales rep for the Warriors, and I was trying to sell them solutions. So I just happened to be the right person at the right time. And because I took pride in understanding the product, the offering, I had to kind of approach it like, yeah, I want to sell it, not in a transactional sense, but what better way to help them make a decision? And they had all the information. So I had to have some curiosity or some sensibility to be almost a consultant in that sense. And again, I think my reputation had preceded itself. And so, what I said was carried a lot of weight. And to have that to be, evidential, meaning like they could follow and trace it to that, that was a big win for me. And then because of that, the reputation gets out, this guy knows the hell what he's talking about, as it should, right? And so, they open up a lot of doors just with that successful example I was able to help them with.
I appreciate it.
Next question, Jared McFarland.
Coach Anwar, I definitely appreciate you coming on and definitely look at you as a guy who came from the DMV area and has done well with the opportunities that have presented himself to you. I just want to touch about the mentorship you spoke of. I know, you had talked before, I listened to a podcast you were on about Coach Johnson and how he came back. I actually have a two-part question. The first part is you talked about how Coach Johnson would just come back and just want to teach you different things. Say, hey, come here, let me show you this, let me show you that, or whatever. Can you just touch on how, in terms of that, you were able to take advantage of those opportunities? And then the second part to that is that now during, our present environment, whenever there's like some type of conflict or whatever, there's also opportunities to take advantage of that presents itself. What opportunities do you see moving forward for you and your company in this environment?
Yeah, so I'll go back to the first question. Again, thank you for the question. So I'm gonna point out Daryl Bruce on here, Squirrel. So he may not even remember this. Because of our network, I think Squirrel, you were at I forget what school you were at. I'm sorry, but I was at Sports Tech, and you guys were out here playing Cal, right? I knew of Squirrel back in the day, but through our networks, like, man, Coach Bruce gonna be out in Berkeley, connect with him. And so just like anything else, I made time on my schedule to connect with him. That started, we got reconnected, but that really started, a relationship. And he didn't know at the time, but, I was still experiencing some things. And so he was an example where I would reach out to him. Like, Coach, man, I'm coaching, man, I'm frustrated with this. What should I do? And I had to be open to that critique and that advice, right? And so most people, I think sometimes they assume that you reach out to the mentor, that like you always got to listen to what they got to say. You have to have some maturity that, people got to critique you, and you got to get out of that comfort zone of trying to seek stuff that you want to hear. You want to go to people that's going to tell you what's up. And, he gave me some guidance that, man, it's just a part of the grind, And I remember one of the nuggets he gave me was, man, like, as you progress in this profession, there are probably a lot of things that you would never do, but you have to still take that as a learning experience. And, people say that all the time. When you start to feel that and experience it, that's just an example where you try to believe it. So he was a mentor that can bounce some of these frustrations or, career interests off as a small example. But then as I continue my coaching career, I was a part of staffs where it was like backstabbing around recruiting. And you guys have been in these situations where associate head coach or whatever just has to have all the credit for recruiting, and and you do a good job recruiting a player to get on campus, and that associate head coach and the head coach's ear, man, you shouldn't be. I mean, I dealt with all that. So again, with Squirrel's example, having to deal with that, I kind of had a foundation of what felt right in this profession. And when I was at the University of San Francisco, Bill Johnson, man, he didn't know me from Adam and Eve, but probably 3 months in working with him, I think he was able to observe what I was about. You know, I wasn't all about being the first person in the office just to show off. I was getting stuff done, you know. So we had some, you know, some opportunities to compete, but compete with integrity. And I think he appreciated how I handled it. And him on his own way, he just said, look, you know what? I think you have some opportunity or some talent. You know, if you can, you know, at least accept it this way, I'm willing to help you. And that was, looking back, I know that's rare. So I want to be clear. I'm not trying to sit and say that like all staffs are built that way, but I was lucky that someone like that who was in charge of me just checked his ego, and whatever I wanted to learn and know, he was willing to point out, sign me up for it. His biggest advice to me was, Anwar, like, you know, think about it. A lot of you guys may have started in that video role, camp role. You get advanced to assistant coach. I think sometimes, I'm not saying like you want to always go backwards and keep repeating those jobs. I mean, hell no, you want to keep moving up. But one of the advice he gave me was that I was in charge of camps. I hated camps. So he said, look, that's cool, but if you're going to hire people to run camps, make sure you know how to run camp. And I didn't really understand all that, but it was that type of like nuggets he would impart on me to like, you know, just have some foundation. And so I always just had that belief of like, look, coaching, a lot of opportunities are, you know, coaches will tell you to do stuff, and they give you crazy, they don't give you direction sometimes. I work for coaching staffs, didn't tell me about scouts, that some coaches didn't believe in having paper scout. I'm in there with a paper scout in my back pocket and getting my ass chewed out because I pull out the paper. That coach never went over that with me. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to burn my hand on the stove again like that. I'm going to ask that question before I go in there. Coach, what do you want? Do you want paper or you don't? So little stuff like that. So, you know, like I said, Bill Johnson was, you know, a great example that just he looked out for me, and I was able to, you know, take advantage of that. And what was the second part of your question? Because then you asked about this, like, how does that help in today's environment, right?
Yeah,
What's going on?
Yeah, like now, whenever there's stuff that happens, there's opportunity. So now, how do you see an opportunity for yourself and your company?
Yeah, so look, I'm being vulnerable here because, like, from a human, you know, sensibility standpoint, you know, hopefully all our world's been shaken up in the last 3 weeks with the media coverage around the murder of George Floyd and all the implications around race and the historical context, race in terms of coaching opportunities of people of color not being in a leadership position, all of that. I'm coming at this full circle, but I'm also dealing with this in real time with the diversity of my network, white colleagues reaching out, man, I don't know what to say, what to do, like, how can I help? And I'm being honest with them. I don't have the answers. I'm kind of processing this too. So I had this kind of self-conscious moment of like, damn, you know, like, I know what I'm doing is, you know, altruistic. I'm in it for the right reason. I know I can help a bunch of people right now. I felt a particular way though. Am I being opportunistic and, you know, cashing out on this? But I had to pause and remind myself that, look, I've been doing this for 4 solid years, you know, believing in this work and believing in the promise of it. And one thing that I was able to, you know, stand on was that the work I've been doing, it's merit-based, right? So people come and put their sweat equity into this, want to learn and get on, they're going to be successful when they're connected to those opportunities. So a lot of this corporate fallout, if you will, there's going to be a lot of political correctness, right? Like, all right, we're going to start putting minorities in positions, head coaches, ADs, etc. I still am of the belief that if that's going to happen, I want to support that by making sure those people that get those opportunities know how to do the job. And so that's why I can stand, you know, with my head up, not, you know, tripping off what other people think, as to be a true beneficiary of that, because that's what we've been doing. And so now we're getting, you know, that type of support with whether it's the NBA, you know, helping them with, you know, player transition programs, all that stuff. But this was always a part of my dream list. I wanted to knock on those doors. Just so happened circumstances, they're knocking this way. So I am definitely benefiting for that, but I had to give you that context though.
Hey, Anwar, don't be apologetic, man. What you stand for, okay, and what you believe in, you are doing, okay, and it's having a positive impact across the board. Your living trophy list is a testament to that, and this is one of the many reasons why I wanted to have you come on and talk to our group, because like I told you, it's a diverse group. This is a safe space, and it's an intelligent people. okay, men, women, head coaches, assistant coaches, Division II, Division III, all across the board. Our whole mission is to touch lives through this game of basketball. You keep doing what you're doing, brother. We are really, really, really honored to have you. We got 2 more questions here before we close up. BT's got a question for you, and then we'll come back with Marty Keithline, and we'll just wrap it up.
What's up, Anwar? Great to see you again, man.
Same here, brother.
You undersold yourself as a salesman.
Yes, sir.
This guy was a hell of a salesman. If you needed anything, if you needed to get something done, you called Anwar. It got done really quickly. But I do think, you know, in thinking back to that, you know, it was an advantage for you in dealing with coaches, video guys, whoever, that you had worked in the coaching profession. So,
absolutely.
You know, so you understood how you could sell. You know, just like in recruiting, like you understood how, okay, investing in this could help someone's program, you know, whether it was preparation, player development, recruiting, all of that, you could point to it specifically. And you always made, you know, when I was a video guy, you made my job easier because you could sell it to the head coach really well as to why we needed to be investing in it. So I have a ton of respect because you've seen the evolution of it. You know, You've seen the evolution of video and now analytics. And so I'm wondering, and then also you're teaching young people, okay, and you're seeing how they learn and you're seeing, you know, all the, just whether it's social media, all the technology that they have access to. And so I'm kind of wondering, if there's anything, you know, that you're picking up on as far as like what's next, you know, what are the best, you know, what's next as far as how we're going to use technology or analytics? Like, is there anything that you've gleaned, obviously, because you've seen the growth of it. And I think you've probably, because of that, can see into the future a little bit. So wondering, you know, what you think is next as far as best practices for video and analytics and all that.
Yeah, so this is some scary shit here, and I'm just projecting. This is just, you know, I don't have no, you know, hard facts here, but where technology is going to go in the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to see more automation, right? Like more of like these camera systems and like Key Motion. I'll go back to examples. They've had a big acquisition. I want to say Atrium Sports about 2 months ago. They jumped about $200 million in that company. So people are putting a lot of money into further developing these technologies. You're going to see a lot of automation. I want to pause there because, you know, there's some fear that is associated with that. Like, holy shit, like this technology is going to start replacing, you know, jobs. It will, right? But I'm always like the glass is half full approach to stuff. It will replace you if you let it. But I go back to the simple premise. It's still humans that are building these machines, right? So we're the ones telling the machines what to do. So I think now, Brian, to go back to your question, if you have never really considered the power of analytics, again, I want to really overstate this. You don't have to leave your coaching job to go to get an MBA in analytics. You need to start incorporating that as soon as possible in your current workflow, right? Just really, and like, I'll give you some resources to tap into. Bring that damn math professor that, you know, you got the wink, I'm gonna put this player in there, they're gonna pass. I'm joking when I say that. But make those connections across campus where you have, you know, math people that want to do stuff like data modeling, data science and stuff. Have them present to your staff, right? Because, I mean, I hate to say it, these are nerds like myself, and we get off on that. Like, we can make some cool shit technology-wise and connect it to humans in basketball. Like, utilize those resources. But I would say to get ahead of what's coming, try to find a way to incorporate some of those practices in your current deal. But automation is, you know, it's coming. It's coming. Like, you know, people want to be able to break down games without, you know, what I'm saying, not filming it, but like that type of technology is going to be that accurate and spot on that like you get the video file handed to you and no humans touch that, you know. But just to be clear, humans program that. So you know, I have a organization, a company, but it's a nonprofit. But the people I partner with, you know, I have inside, you know, access to some of their strategic planning I mean, it's some cool shit coming down the pipeline, but it is coming. Like, it's not gonna. This COVID stuff hadn't slowed that down. Like, it's just on a pause right now, but it's coming.
Next question, Marty Keithline, head basketball coach, Bishop McNamara High School, Washington, D.C.
Hey, Coach, thank you for everything tonight. My connection, my mentoring is how can we get this information to we have a lot of great high school managers, and we're lucky enough to have those who want to get them to college. How can we start getting some of this information to them earlier so they can start their career path right out of high school? Because most of us will call the college coach that they go to and say, I have a guy or a girl that can help you out. But we want to get this information. What would your plan of strategy be to get that information to the younger kids that really want to do this?
Yeah, so you know, it's kind of like coaching, right? I go back to coaching, like, yeah, like all these young people probably want to get into coaching. How do you get the information to them? So I would say just maybe through your normal communication channel, you need to make it clear what coaching clinics are available. I will share my information with Coach Sutton to share with you guys. You know, make that a part as just a resource for your students if they want to learn some baselines of getting analytics or video coordination, if you will. Here's a program that's online that they can look into. So, you know, Coach, that's just one of those examples where I wish I could say, like, all right, do this and do that, and all of a sudden the floodgates on. You know, I think we're all learning and evolving in this space, but no better way to leverage social media. You know, like I was sharing with Coach Tavalli, is that, you know, in your job, you know, I would say challenge yourselves to incorporate some of this stuff. Start to read some of these technology magazines that are related to sports. Nobody's trying to tell you to learn about drones here, right? Like, you know, like there are publications that you guys look at for recruiting. There are publications that talk about key motion in some of these analytics companies. Start to slowly, you know, just, you know, investing in that, you know, or reading stuff like that. But I think the communication is going to be the key. So if you're trying to help those young people and you're doing those type of readings, I just think you make it a resource in your communication network. All right, here's an opportunity if you want to learn about that, and just kind of expand that from your traditional practices, right? Just what else can you offer from a value proposition to these young people coming behind you or working with you?
Thank you, Coach.
Last question, Justin Brandon.
Hey, Coach, just wanted to thank you again for coming on today and being a mentor. You've been talking about mentorship this entire time, and Coach Sutton's been that guy for me. And you talking about, you know, having those scary requirements or requests, and Coach Sutton asked me, you know, hey, would you mind breaking down this film, this, that, the third? And I looked at it, I was like, yeah, I'd love to do that. And then after I got off the phone with him, I was like, oh shit, how am I going to do that? And so I guess my question for you was, I kind of learned organically. I kind of pieced things together. I had a program on my computer where I was literally watching ESPN and screen recording it while I was doing it because I was a high school guy. I didn't have synergy. So I guess my question to you is, what do you, besides like, you know, the cameras that are going to, you know, automatically get stuff to people and things of that nature, but the things that, you know, only the people can do, what do you think is next for us besides like piecing together set plays? Do you think it's going to be services like what you talked about, what you did with Draymond, where, you know, he's saying like, yeah, I'm ripping down 8 boards per game. And you're looking at him, you're like, yeah, you could, but, you know, had you not been, you know, kicking somebody in the midsection and been chasing after this board instead, like you would be having 11 and 12.
No, absolutely. So again, I can give some examples that I think hopefully can be helpful. So think about, you know, I appreciate you guys calling me coach, because it's dear to me that I feel like I'm still a part of that fraternity, if you will. But just like in the Final Four, you know, obviously that's a meet and greet place, and you know, you're trying to do some professional development. You go into those coaching clinics. I would say even just because there's more opportunity now, use that same type of budget of professional development, right? And maybe instead of going to those coaching clinics at the Final Four, go to stuff like the Sloan Analytics Conference, right? You know, that may be a competition with you guys being in season, but what I'm saying, there are a lot of off-season offerings that may just be little conferences or clinics that are around analytics. And I would just like follow that path of like, you know, you guys are, you know, super in tune of what's going on in the industry. There are some coaches that have some really good reputations of, you know, maybe how they incorporate analytics. So no different than you picking up the phone, calling the coach to learn the intricacies of the flex offense. I would do that same type of mindset, reaching out to coaches that are seem to be interested, has some success in implementing some of these analytical, infrastructures and strategies. Reach out to them and, make yourself, a student of that. Most coaches, for the most part, they'll allow you in, and want you to, show what they can do. I would say I would take advantage of that, but just a little pivot there would be, instead of maybe always focusing on some of those coaching clinics, go to those coaches clinics where you're talking about the emerging technologies, the industry leaders, and how they're applying it. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. All of our coaching experiences, your personal experience of just having to figure stuff out, I think you'll be surprised how you're more ahead of the game than someone starting out, because you have a set of experience of, investigating something, knowing what to imply and not to imply. I think it's the same muscle. We just need to have some awareness around it.
Thank you again for your time.
Anwar, we cannot thank you enough on behalf of putting on this Zoom and the people that are on this Zoom. They are a part of my my tribe, and we call ourselves the living trophies. And the thing that we want to do is we want to use our platform as teachers, educators, and to impact as many lives as we possibly can and create living trophies. And to have you on tonight and to see what you have done and what you are doing and what you are going to continue to do has been nothing short than phenomenal. Your transparency, your honesty, you are creating living trophies, and we thank you a lot for coming on tonight and what you share with us tonight. These people will on a Zoom will implement. And again, we just can't thank you enough for your time and for your transparency, for your honesty, and for the information that you share with us. And with that being said, you are a part of this tribe from henceforth. So thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you all. I'm just typing in the group chat box before we log off my contact information. So I'm just making sure I ever have that. And so as we all are stewards in this profession, I would not be out here with people not reaching back out me, mentoring me, and making time. I don't give out my contact information and hide behind it. So you have my contact information in this chat. If you guys want to reach out, I will always respond. I mean, that's been a pillar of, this mentoring piece. You can't put stuff out there that you don't mean. So here's my contact information. Please share you guys and trust me, I don't consider mentoring one way. Like, a lot of you folks I haven't talked to in a while, but over the years, I've had some check-ins of like, hey man, am I thinking about this right? And so in a small way of sharing my contact, you guys become part of this network. I think we all can benefit from that. So please take me up on my contact information. Happy to answer any questions outside of this and continue to be a resource. But Coach Sutton, I can't thank you enough for us being reconnected, and what a wonderful group of coaches you have put together, and allow me to share this platform to at least give some advice and some suggestions to these aspiring coaches. So thank you again, Coach.
You're welcome, and we'll be in touch, Anwar, and be safe, and continue to be blessed.
Okay, thank you, guys.